although hopefully most do now. I'm Shona Clive, project lead for the Rail Cluster Builder project, working with the team at Scottish Engineering. I'm also chair of Women in Rail Scotland. My previous role was with Babcock, and this month is my 25th year in the rail sector. Just a little bit about the Rail Cluster project in case you don't know about it. The Rail Cluster project is an 18-month project jointly funded by Scottish Enterprise and the European Regional Development Fund, and we're also supported by Transport Scotland. We have several aims, but in a nutshell, our key purpose is to connect SMEs in the engineering and manufacturing sectors in Scotland, looking to diversify into rail or grow their presence in the sector, and help facilitate the necessary links with the rail market in Scotland. So that's with Network Rail, ScotRail, Tier 1s, rolling stock manufacturers and the wider supply chain. And we're also here to raise awareness of the opportunities across the Scottish rail sector and beyond. The context of the Rail Cluster Builder project is the Rail Decarbonisation Action Plan, in which the aim is to deliver carbon neutral rail transport by 2035 and make Scotland a leader in creating net zero emission railways. The Rail Cluster group has 286 organisations who have registered now. 165 of them are SMEs from a wide variety of sectors. Those outside the SME category are rail sector organisations, universities, research facilities, and the SMEs themselves come from a huge variety of sectors such as marine, oil and gas, renewables, particularly sectors where there may be synergies or the opportunity to adapt services and products to make them work in the rail sector, such as fabricators, machine shops, precision engineers, instrumentation and controls, metal manufacturing, etc. I can honestly truly say that my eyes have been opened up with the range of opportunities, the range of expertise and skills we have right here on our doorstep in Scotland. The rail industry presents multi-sector diversification potential for those SMEs who work in industries such as aerospace and automotive, which are struggling at the moment from the impact of COVID. The team at Scottish Engineering was delighted when Rob Hopkin from BCRRE and the Rail Alliance offered to work with us on the Get Into Rail sessions. Today is the first in a series of Get Into Rail events aimed at SMEs with a small amount of knowledge of the rail sector, or perhaps none, but a big interest in finding out more. So I do hope you find this event really informative. We've got a great lineup of speakers. I hope you've seen them in the agenda. You'll hear all about the supplier assurance process known as RISCs, followed by RIA membership and exporting opportunities. RIA stands for the Railway Industry Association. By now you might have noticed that the rail sector loves uses acronyms, so I'm trying very, very hard to say as many as I can in full. Next up is a session on the biggest rail exhibitions in the UK, from Mac Brooks, and this is followed by a wider trade associations, and trade press. All of this is aimed at giving you the information you need to make your mark in the rail sector. Just before I hand over to Gillian Scott from RSSB, another acronym, stands for Rail Safety and Standards Board, I'll run quickly through some housekeeping to keep us on track as we've quite a full agenda. Please turn off your video and mute your sound so there's no distraction for speakers or other attendees. Please use the chat facility to post any questions you may have. We'll run a Q&A session at the end of the presentation, and if there's any questions that we don't get to during the session, we promise to get back to you after the event. Just to let you know, this event today is being recorded and will be shared after the event if you want to have another look at it, or for those who might be missing today for whatever reason. I'm now really delighted to introduce you to Gillian Scott from RSSB, who will tell us all about RISCs, the supplier approval process. Thank you.
Thank you. So I'm going to go through today, I'm going to give you an overview of what RISCs is, the stages to becoming compliant, a quick overview of some of the things that we are doing, such as benchmarking, and to give you some more information, some useful links, etc. So, Rail Industry Supplier Qualification Scheme. it's a pre-qualification scheme with ongoing assurance. We assess and assure over around 4,000 suppliers, and they've demonstrated capability against product codes, products or services codes known as the RICL codes. And I will go into that acronym a little bit later. We provide independent verification so that the 90 buyers stroke infrastructure managers can have confidence that the suppliers we have in the scheme can meet safety and performance requirements. They can comply with legislation such as their requirements for CDM of appointing competent contractors. For yourselves, I always approach this as being your shop window. So what Risks already does and what it can do for you as new suppliers. So it's an online portal. So again, your shop window, you tell the portal what you do, what you provide, products or services. And the quick diagram is to show you that the level of how we can help. So these are the suppliers without risks, and these are the buyers. Each of these buyers go to multiple suppliers and then do management system reviews. So as a single supplier, if you supply 4, 10, 20, each of them might come to you for your management systems. Have you got management systems in place to demonstrate you can carry out that work? So with risks in place, you demonstrate that once into the portal, then each of these 90 buyers stroke infrastructure managers go into the portal and they pull out the information. So really it reduces the burden on yourself. It also means that when it comes to procurement questions, they can pull information from the platform first and decide whether or not they've got the right organisations on their SSQ, PQQ, whatever that acronym wants to be, their expression of interest. Risks has a consistent approach to this. So the questions we ask is the same to every supplier. However, it's preset. You can answer yes, no, you can upload. But again, depending on how you answer that question, depends on what the next question will be. By answering the questions in the portal, like I said, it means that procurement exercises can be done by pulling out the relevant suppliers first. It saves them having to ring you and say, can you give me a copy of your ISO certificate, your insurance certificate, because all of that information is already uploaded into the portal. So that's a very busy screen, I do appreciate that. I'm just trying to highlight the number of buyers. We do have another 2 that we are actively speaking with at this moment in time who will add to our list. But again, no need for you to do any screen prints. The list is on our risks website. So we're prepared to give you the links to all of this so you can go away and have a look and see. So becoming compliant. So there's up to 3 stages in this. So the first one is to register to gain access to the portal. So we have our website. It's not the most modern, but it is there. And the big button at the top is register with risks. So you would click on that. So our membership levels, they're there. They tell you exactly what they are. So again, I'm going to just tell you what the RICL code is at the moment. So it's whether you provide one product or a service, and that's the RICL code. That's your membership. You kind of need to know some of this before you start. However, you could actually just register with one RICL, start setting it up, and then decide how many you need. Or what you can do is you can go into that in a bit more detail and find out. And like I say, I'll talk to you about RICL codes in a minute. Stage 2 is setting up your profile. So once you've registered, you'll be given access to the portal. You'll then be given a set of questions, and so you can see the range of topics in these questions, what we cover. So we cover everything from carbon management through to quality, and then obviously there's your RICL codes, your product codes. And again, like I've mentioned, the responses are preset. You can say answer yes, no. You can select from a drop-down menu, multiple selection, but it's all preset in there. It's the same for every supplier, but it's dependent on your answer. So if you answer no to something, you don't get the next question in that kind of category. If you then submit the questions, our team actually review them. So some of the questions they will actually go away and verify. So you enter your company's house number and your company name. They would go to company's house and they would actually validate that and check and make sure that it's spelt exactly the same. So we have that validation and check. With insurance certificates, again, we would check the name and structure and a few other bits and pieces. Some answers are a self-declaration. So then you select your RICL code. So like I said, so RICL codes is the Railway Industry Common Classification List. I believe it's a European list, and there's various ways you can actually review the RICL or work out what you need. So the first one is on the website. So again, I've put you the links. There's actually a PDF list. So, you know, if you're old school, you want to actually go and highlight that on a piece of paper or highlight in a PDF, it's there. But there is other ways. So the next way is you actually going on the website. So again, one of these links took you to this. And this is on our website, and you can actually type in, the word I've typed in here is heritage. And it's interactively dropped down that there's two options for heritage, and it's a BB2 code and an EK 10.3.1 code. So that the way the product codes work is on a parent and child kind of relationship. And again, you can see to this side here, you've got various colours of orange and red. And I appreciate it's maybe small on the screen. But when you have a look at the interactive session, you'll be able to have a play around and you'll see what we mean. So there's two levels of risk associated with the RICL code. So the first is a verified and the next is an auditable. Again, I'll go into that in a minute. So again, the other way you can look at the RICL code is actually by dropping down that parent and child relationship to get to what you want. Again, it might be that you know where you are with it, you may not. Once you've added in all your RICL codes and you've answered all of those questions, for those what are orange, so the verifiable RICL codes, you will already then be seen by the buyers because you've answered all the questions and there is no need for an audit. However, if you've selected any of the red RICL codes, you would then be required to undergo an audit. So this is the hierarchy of our audit protocol. So we start with a core audit. And again, I'll show you in a few seconds on the next slide what that audit looks like and a few of the categories we cover. We then go into things like CDM. So do you discharge CDM duties? Sentinel, trackside. I would think that that's probably not necessarily relevant, those three to yourselves, otherwise you'd probably already be in risks. So I'll move on to the next slide. So auditable. So this is what the audit covers. Again, very small writing, but please bear with me. So we cover the organisation, your management systems. We cover project management, supply chain management, plant and equipment, and like it's getting quite small. But what we do cover is we have all of the protocols on the website, so nothing is hidden. You can go on that risks website and you can look at every question that's going to be asked of you in the audit, and it gives you the level of guidance, the level of information that we are looking for. What we do is where you need more than one of these audits, we actually merge the requirements. So in the management system, we wouldn't just purely look at your management system for core and then start looking at your management system for CDM. We would merge the questions together so that we remove any duplications. So, sorry, at that point you become auditable, and at that point you then are visible to buyers for all of your RICL codes, both verification and auditable. So the main thing is within risks is that once you become visible, your verification is all there, it's all been answered, you know, you're there visible to all buyers. However, you must remain compliant. So compliance is, you can do it on an annual basis. It's really up to you. But like I've said to you, this is your shop window. If something changes, it's in your best interest to go and change it in the platform. And I would really encourage you to kind of keep used to the platform. You'll see what the changes are. You'll get to know information. It does send you an awful lot of prompts, I do admit. And again, you may want to change your RICL codes from time to time. Again, that's your choice. Subscription is annual. So again, the audit is annual. And again, to remain compliant for your auditable RICL codes, you must undergo your audit on an annual basis. We do the prompts. We prompt you beforehand so you can go and check and make sure your RICL codes are still right. Whether you want to add any more in, we agree dates with you and come out and do the audit. At this moment in time, all of our audits for the whole of COVID, we've continued. We've dropped very few audits. At the very beginning, we had to talk suppliers through how we would collect evidence and the likes, but we've remained fully working through the whole of COVID. So another acronym to throw at you, SSQ, supplier specific questions. It's otherwise known as an expression of interest, PQQ, that level. So a buyer goes into the portal and they search on your RICL codes. So once they've selected the RICL codes, they've then got a list of suppliers. They can then go into the portal and all of those other verification questions that you've answered, they can select them. So they can say they want someone who's an SME. They want someone, or sorry, someone, an organisation has a specific level of insurance or ISO, anything that's relevant to the contract. And what they would then do is they would issue that SSQ or expression of interest through the portal. You then go back through the portal and answer those questions and tell them that you are interested. Once you've said you're interested in that particular tender or information, it then allows you to open it up and it allows you to actually go and look at the relevant detail. What I would say is we have worked with our buying community. We work out what they want. We have various consultation groups. And one of the things that came out of it was something called an API technology, application programming interface. And what that does is they'll come into our portal, they'll search for a list of suppliers using the RICL codes and the information I've already mentioned, and then they can transfer that information into their own portal. So with Network Rail, you'll have heard of Bravo. So Bravo might issue that SSQ or PQQ, whatever the acronym they choose to use, but it may be issued from their own portal. So that point, that's where risks kind of stops. We don't do full tenders. We provide the buyers with the ongoing assurance after that, which is making sure you maintain your information that's in the portal. So one of the other things that we do offer within the portal is the system's been designed with a mapping exercise. So what it's done is it's looked at our RICL codes and it's looked at the European CPV codes. Part of the subscription to risks is that you can go in and you can set up this link. You literally go in and select the CPV codes. It's telling you what's aligned to the RICL. But again, what you do is you set it up quite easy. There's a few-minute video that shows you how to do it. And then what the system will do is when an audio notice is published and it links it then to your RICL codes, is it will then prompt you that there's a potential audio notice that your organisation might be interested in. Again, that's free and it's part and parcel of the subscription service. As I mentioned, we do have a couple of videos. Again, once you're in the portal, we can help you set that up. I want to tell you some of the things that we've kind of worked with our supplying organisations over the last few months. Sorry, some of my screens seem to have gone a bit awry. I'm kind of keep my fingers crossed a bit. In the portal, what we do is we do something that should really list all of those categories that we looked at earlier. So all of the things like your commercial, your corporate social responsibility. And what it does is we've done an exercise here. I don't know whether you can see, it says asbestos. We've pulled the organisations and we've looked at all groupings. It shows you there's 57 organisations there. And what it's going to do is it's going to look at them as a whole. So the next thing it's done, my apologies, the slide seems to have gone slightly awry. If I keep talking through what it does and then I'll see if somebody can interact with the correct slides, my apologies. What it does is it allows you to then drop down and look at the individual level, so within commercial and whatever else. If you can bear with me a few seconds, I'm probably going to have to pull up a different version of it because it's not much good unless you can see the slides that I need to show you. Apologies, Shauna.
Don't worry at all, don't worry.
I'm taking a deep breath because this is going round in circles. Sorry, it's a bit embarrassing.
Don't worry, Gillian. Technology is sent to test us.
Yeah. Do you know how I sent you the slides earlier? Would it be possible for you to put them up for me to talk them through? Sorry.
Yep, just give us a second.
Thank you. I'm frightened that if I press any more buttons, my machine will crash.
Just give us a wee sec.
Thank you.
So can you see the screen?
We were right the way down to benchmarking. Thank you.
Is that this one?
No, it's further down than that.
Sorry.
It's okay. So there we go. So it's corrupted on yours as well. I'll talk you through, my apologies, I'll make sure you get the right presentation out. So what we do is with benchmarking, it allows us to look at things, and then what they can do is we can kind of filter down. The idea of benchmarking is that the buyers can go and they can actually, in your tier ones, can help you talk through, so we can improve safety on site, corporate social responsibility within the rail industry. And what it does for yourself is there's a view for you, which, apologies, you obviously can't clearly see on the screen, but what it does to you is it gives you a set of bar charts. And on the bar charts, what it allows you to do is to see where you are within the community, where you are within the business, and then you can see what you can improve on. So recently I spoke with a chap and we looked at his graphs as to why he didn't gain a tender. And when we spoke with him, what we did was we found that there was questions in his document that hadn't been answered correctly, and the bar charts really actually showed quite clearly. Again, when you get the proper presentation, you will actually see the slides that are demonstrating that. Thanks, Shona. So hopefully to round my disaster off. So what it is, how can we help you? In each of the screens in the portal, there's links to videos. So there's watch help videos. These are all relevant to the screen that you're in. We have little videos that show you how to do the CPV code link. We have videos for new suppliers on what to do and how to do it. A bit more successful than what I've just done. But again, what they show is actually live sessions in the portal. We have a dedicated customer service team, and we're there not quite 24/7, but we're open most of the days of the week. And I've put you some contact details on there. It is on your dashboard once you join risks. And the next slide is my contact details, as well as more contact details again for the customer service team. Thank you for bearing with me, and I'd hand over now to Neil Walker of the Rail Industry Association. Thank you and apologies.
Thanks, Gillian.
Thank you very much, Gillian, for introducing me. Just bear a second while I upload our presentation. Hopefully you can all see that. Thank you, Shona and the Scottish Engineering Association, for allowing us today, and also Robert at Rail Alliance as well. My name is Neil Walker. I'm the Exports Director at the Railway Industry Association, often abbreviated to RIA. Myself and my colleague Rose Garber, who is our membership manager, will briefly cover the benefits of being a RIA member and exports. When we do our exports events at RIA, we often work in partnership with the Department for International Trade, and all our export activity is open to all UK companies. You don't have to be a RIA member to take part. We welcome you, in fact, joining us. We do lots of different trade missions in normal times around the world, and in addition we create UK pavilions at international rail exhibitions. So the difference is a rail trade mission is visiting a country and having bespoke meetings, where a UK pavilion is at a rail fair, and they are typically like a marketplace. You can see an image there of Traco in Gdansk, and the people come and visit you on your stand where you display your products or services. We also facilitate inward visits to the UK and seminars, and we try and ensure that there is opportunities for the UK supply chain to engage with these visitors while they're probably having a briefing on, for example, High Speed 2, Network Rail, and we just try and bring the supply chain into this. We also have been very busy leading up to the transition, busy signposting what we consider to be our members' interests in FTA negotiations that rail is represented. And we've also been having, since the beginning of January, many meetings with the Department for Transport, who bring in various government departments, who then talk about some of the hot topics. So yesterday we had an MS Teams call with DfT, along with other organisations, where they spoke about rules of origin, and we have one coming up on borders, for example. So they're typically open to others as well. I think the Rail Alliance has access to them for their members, and the Rail Forum Midlands does as well. As this is about rail, background on rail, the Oxford Economics 2018 report shows that the UK rail sector contributes annually over 36 billion GVA to the UK economy, employs about 600,000 people, and generates around about 11 billion in tax revenues. For exports, we believe we export in the region of 800 million per annum, which is quite low, but actually getting actual figures on this is very difficult. In terms of why you should perhaps export, the European Governing Trade Association, UNIFE, recently released a World Market Rail Study report predicting annual rail market growth of between 1 and 2.3% per annum until 2025. What this effectively means is that the annual volume will be approximately 240 billion euros per annum around the world. So rail is really vibrant around the world, and infrastructure may be used to create economic growth post-COVID too. So on this slide, you'll see what we did last year in terms of exports. We were severely limited because of COVID. We had a couple of events at the beginning of the year. We had the V4 high-speed rail study tour of the UK, and then we had a UK pavilion at Middle East Rail in February, and then lockdown happened effectively, so we had to cancel a couple of events. So what we focused on was informing rail companies about the business opportunities around the world. So since May, as you can see there, RIA has done, working in partnership with the Department for International Trade, 9 webinars. These webinars, they're all linked in this presentation, which Shona will share with you afterwards. So you can physically watch all of these presentations. They last about an hour and a half, and they highlight the opportunities in the various markets. So basically, we've had guest speakers, we've had DIT trade advisors, and we've had Q&A as well. And if you, having watched this, if you wanted any of the presentations, we also hold those. So we're very happy to share those with you. Looking ahead to this year, I mentioned rail is vibrant around the world. We've just completed our very first virtual trade mission to Canada, 52 delegates from 40 companies there. And in just terms of demonstrating the growth in rail in Canada, We saw presentations over the week which had a value of around about 150 billion Canadian dollars, projects in different stages from near completion to the end. And I know overnight the Canadian government have announced a further 14.9 billion funding on public transport over the next 8 years. We are currently open for recruitment for our next virtual trade mission. That's to Australia. That's on the 22nd of March, and there is a link there as well. Australia is spending similar amounts of money. I think the last I saw, over 150 billion Aussie dollars on road and rail in the next 10 years. It's also a priority market for the UK industry. Looking further down the list, we have a webinar on Saudi Arabia in the UAE in May, and then we're hoping to go to physical activity from September onwards, international trade fairs overseas. I won't touch on Railtex because I know the next speaker will cover that, but we're hoping there'll be a meet the buy there. But if we look at Traco, Middle East Rail, Rail Solutions Asia and Australia, we're hoping to have a UK presence there in the form of a UK pavilion, and there will be some support available for UK companies. So as background to that, the government and industry are working together on a rail sector deal. Exports is a pillar of that, and we created last year what we call the RSG Exports Survey. Now, the survey was a questionnaire from industry, but the point I want to highlight here is at the very back of the survey, there is 4 pages of helpful advice on who to contact and what's available in terms of helping you export. The sorts of information that the report contains is what the devolved administrations or what DIT can do to help you via their sector teams or the embassies around the world. For exhibitions, DIT has what we call a Trade Access Programme, TAP. That is grants that are available for UK companies to apply for. We administer that for the rail sector. You do have to qualify for these grants, and they range from 1,500 to 2,500. There is also advice about using UK export finance funding. This can be used to provide insurance-backed guarantees for your export products, or ultimately it could provide project funding for an overseas client where they have to make a commitment of 20%. Additionally, as part of the sector deal, we've worked very closely with Network Rail, who now provide references for overseas bidding. So there's information in that export survey on how to get a reference. And finally, in terms of missions and UK pavilions overseas, we often work with the Department for Transport, and you'll see top right there, that's the rail minister talking to one of the ministers in the UAE, and below that is a reception at the embassy that we provided. So the British government worked very closely in supporting missioners. Additionally, we use a great branding, as you can see there, and we also get support from the High Commissioners or the Trade Commissioners. So after we've finished speaking, I will post in the chat function a link to the sector deal export survey, and also a link to the TAP programme funding, so you can investigate that more. I will now hand over to my colleague Rose, who will talk about RIA and the benefits of RIA. Rose, over to you.
Thanks very much, Neil. Good morning, everyone. So my name is Rose Garber, and I'm the Membership Engagement Manager at the Railway Industry Association, otherwise known as RIA. So RIA is an industry-wide trade association representing a large proportion of the UK rail supply chain. We have just over 300 members, and these represent sort of tier 1s to rail startups, and over 60% of our membership is our SMEs. So our membership organisations are able to feed into rail industry committees and attend networking and procurement events and opportunities, such as sort of 70 special interest groups, and also 2 flagship conferences. Members also have access to the latest railway industry news, and RIA as an organisation have strong links with government departments such as DfT and industry clients such as Network Rail and HS2. And we also represent our membership through our lobbying activities, which I'll discuss in more detail later on. Next slide, please, Neil. So RIA has a team of expertise which include the following sectors. So exports, as Neil mentioned, public affairs and PR, policy, and also technical and innovation. So each week, our members receive mailings, which consist of 5 newsletters pertaining to different subjects, which consistently update them on RIA's activities. So these can include letters to the government, upcoming events, members' news, and so on. So also we have our online communities, which is a really informative sort of community where information from our webinars, including presentations, etc., are regularly uploaded onto these communities. So members are able to recapture any information from these events and webinars. We also encourage our members to share newsworthy related success stories, as we will be very delighted to sort of promote these via our marketing platforms, and these will all be complimentary, so via sort of LinkedIn and Twitter. Next slide, please. So as briefly covered in the previous slide, RIA plays an active role where we represent our members' interests, concerns, and highlights, but with policymakers and also influencers, and also with clients such as Network Rail, TfL, RDG, HS2, and others, and also industry bodies within the UK and also the EU. So we ensure that they engage with our members and listen to their concerns. So we have a policy team, and they work very closely with senior clients and also run regular meetings with regional and commercial directors. So some of the areas that we focus on are international and EU trade, major projects, skills, and also decarbonisation. And we also arrange visits with members and local MPs throughout the UK. So our key ask of government include continued rail investment as the sector recovers from coronavirus, so increasing visibility for the rail enhancement schemes and also future decarbonisation plans, as well as bringing forward digital signalling work and many more. So these lobbying activities are informed by our members, and we aim to represent the UK rail supply chain to the UK government, parliamentarians, and also devolved administrations across the UK. So as our members are UK based, we aim to support and cover each UK region and nation. So with an example, we've recently launched the Devolution Week, which involves a series of events to bring together key decision makers in the nations and regions of the UK with the railway industry. So the event is running from the 8th to 12th of March, and every day it involves an event looking at a different area where elections will take place. So Scotland, London, the North, and also the Midlands and Wales. And you can find further details on our website, but there'll be an event in Scotland on the 8th of March, which will cover transport and policy issues facing the nation prior to the Holyrood elections, which will be taking place in May this year. So we'll also run a series of events, including special interest groups, technical interest groups, roundtables, and workshops with key industry stakeholders, including government officials and also clients. Next slide, please. Next slide, please.
Yeah. Oh.
Perfect, thank you. Okay, so RIA also has its own technical team with a deep railway experience who work closely with our members, the policy team, and also major client bodies to represent suppliers' interests and influence strategies and plans. So we represent the UK rail supply chain on many industry bodies, such as various standard committees, as well as give input to important industry strategies. So, for example, we were part of the decarbonisation task force, and so we're able to influence future industry strategy from the outset. We deliver a full range of technical interest groups, and these will cover various topics such as sort of civil, electrical, rolling stock, signalling, and many more. So these showcasing our members' successful innovations through elevator pitches, presentations, and also panel discussions. So as a founding member of the UK Rail Research and Innovation Network, UCRIN, we also run themed Unlocking Innovation events each year, which provide an opportunity for our members to showcase their best practice alongside speakers from the government and also major clients. And aside from that, we also have our award-winning flagship innovation conference coming up this April. So this is an interactive, dynamic, 3-day virtual event, and it will provide opportunities for members and also non-members to engage with the wider rail community and hear from key speakers who will address important themes surrounding innovation. So you'll be able to find further information via our website, and feel free to join us at the event. Thank you very much. And I'm pleased to now introduce you to Natig from Matt Brooks.
Thank you very much, Rose. I'm just going to share my screen now with you. Okay. Good morning, everyone. My name is Natik Asadlaev, and I'm the show manager for RailTex and InfraRail. Before I start, I wanted to say thank you to Sean and Rob for this opportunity. Okay, so I'll be talking today about our events, RailTex and InfraRail, which are the largest in the UK for railway industry. Just to give you an idea, for this year's edition, we will be covering with these events around 15,000 square meters into halls. We're expecting around 400 exhibitors and over 5,000 visitors. And these numbers are estimated considering the current situation with the COVID. Now, we can split the event into the 4 different areas just to make it easier to understand its structure. So first part is the education and content, which has 3 different conferences that run parallel to each other. The seminar theater, it's where we give the word to our exhibitors to tell everyone a little bit about their technologies and what's going on their side. And then we have Unlocking Innovation and the Future Focus Conference organized by RIA. You heard about them a little bit more from my colleagues from RIA. At the same time, we have the demonstration area with the track and the plant and machinery display. The track is an area for companies who actually do produce products that can be displayed on a live track. This is a full-size track where it can be done. And plant and machinery, we encourage exhibitors, giving them special deals to bring their machinery and plant to the event to make it more lively, let's say. The third zone is special zones, which has the first time exhibitor zone. I will cover this separately later on a separate slide. And then we have the lead management area, which has the Meet the Buyer program, again mentioned by colleagues before me. It's something that we organize with RIA Matchmaking, which is based on our sophisticated software that would allow this happen on site. Recruitment wall to help exhibitors to look for talent in the market, and the networking area. Okay, obviously our show has been going on for over 20 years, and we are in partnership with all the major organizations in the industry. RIA is the main show partner. Then we of course work closely with all the media organizations in the market, and Rail Alliance, Midlands and Engine. All the conference programs are CPT certified, which is also great for engineers who are trying to increase in their qualifications. So this is just a little bit, a small part of the element of all the organization we're in partnership with and who promote the event. Now, I just wanted to cover a little bit about, how the events in general, exhibitions in general, and Railtex and Infrared in particular can help companies in different elements of their, let's say, supply, the product life cycle, how exhibitions can be a support for that. For instance, when you start in development and you're building a product or testing it, exhibitions are a perfect place to test and proof of concept, analyze competitor products, test the demand, and so on. Once you're ready to introduce a product to the new market, I think for product launch and promotion and creating public awareness, I don't think there's a more effective way of launching a new product and creating awareness than during an exhibition, supported, of course, by strong pre-event, during event, and post-event marketing campaign. When your product reaches the growth, it's launched and it's now starting to grow into market, and you're looking for increased market share, an investment in your marketing. I think as a part of the wider marketing plan to increase the market share, exhibitions a perfect way of maximizing that customer reach and generating new leads. And then once you're entering the maturity of your product, I think events, also exhibitions, can help greatly to grow sales and basically meet all of your existing customers under one roof while generating new leads at the same time. Yeah, so I mean, so that was the idea that exhibitions prepared and done properly can help in all the aspects of your product journey. Now, just a little bit more about us, and well, your Railtex and Infrared actually are part of our transport department, which also consists of the Seafair and Expo Ferroviaria. Seafair and Expo Ferroviaria are two events that are leading relevant in their respective markets in France and Italy. So quite similar to Railtex Infrared, but for France and Italy. Altogether, these four trade shows, we cover around 1,300 exhibiting companies and around 25,000 visitors. And if you count the reach we have through our partners and through our exhibitors, we have reached to more than 2 million industry professionals. So building on that, umbrella of the events that we have in the rail market, we created the brand of Eurorail Hub, which works like the umbrella organization for all four events. And we will be, for the first time since the launch of these shows, we will be joining all four events together to bring a new digital event for the entire European rail industry. It will be called Eurorail Hub, and it will take place on 24th and 25th of March. Now, one of the main actually purposes of this event is going to be to help to support companies in their recovery journey through from the COVID through an interactive digital networking opportunities. This event will be organized with in collaboration and with huge support of our partners, RIA from the UK, FIF in France, and ASIFER in Italy. For the companies who will exhibit at the event, they will have the possibility to present a product, use the matchmaking tool powered with a very sophisticated AI that will connect them to their pre-selected leads, opportunity to actually arrange direct meetings with any of the visitors who will registered from French, Italian, and UK databases, extended knowledge in your field with live webinars and Q&As, and I will cover that next slide, and wider outreach of international business contacts and future partners. The conference program, this is not confirmed, by the way, it's just an outline of it. We are hoping to get, quite a high level conference program prepared and together with associations, and special role in this, of course, is of the RIA, who will be helping us with this. We're hoping to get, again, not confirmed, the keynote from the Minister of Transport of the UK and similar level of Italy and France. There will be a presentation after that dedicated to the values and opportunities of the rail market in the respective countries. Then insight to the actually each of the respective markets. In UK, for example, we'll focus on decarbonization in rail, the road to Glasgow, and then similar sessions for France and Italy, and also a keynote presentation from the UNIFE, railway in the world of tomorrow. Now, last but not least, I wanted to present you this special zone in our event and a special offer that we prepared for the members of the Scottish Rail cluster. The name of the area is First Time Exhibitor Zone, and it speaks for itself. It's basically an area at our event we created for companies who want to try the show for the first time without necessarily spending all of their marketing budget on one event. The cost of it, it's all inclusive, £3,300 that will allow you to come and take part on a turnkey kind of solution where everything you need to exhibit, including your furniture, your stand, electricity, and so on and so forth, it's all will be included. All these companies in the zone will be in one area, which makes it very easy to promote them, and we will make sure to kind of put those new companies more in a bit of a spotlight to get them more attention during the event. Yes, I know you obviously will be saving around 30% on the cost of participation by taking part through the first time exhibitor package. Now, we have only limited 10 stands available this area, and we have reserved actually 4 stands there for the members of the Scottish Rail cluster. Now, if you are interested in doing something around here, please reach out. You can do this through our website or my contact that I will leave the last slide. And one important thing about it that what you saw before, Eurorail Hub virtual event. Now, participation at that on its own in this as an exhibitor at the virtual event will cost you somewhere between £3,000 and £5,000. But for all of our confirmed exhibitors, the physical event, including first-time exhibitors, participation at the virtual event will be for free. So essentially, by becoming a first-time exhibitor and paying £3,300, you would get free participation at the virtual event and significantly reduced cost on your participation at physical event in September. So that's everything from me. Thank you very much for your attention, and now I will hand it over to Jenny.
Many thanks, Natig. Right, I'm going to hopefully share my correct screen. I hope I'm on camera as well. I can't see very much on my own screens here. So yeah, I'm Jenny Illingsworth. That's good.
You're live.
Lovely, that's great. So I'm Jenny Illingsworth. I'm Deputy Director at Birmingham Centre for Railway Research and Education, and also one of the team at Rail Alliance. That's a nice old picture of me when I looked a lot younger. So I'm really glad actually that we're recording this session, because there's actually quite a lot of information that Rob, my colleague, and I have got together for you. So hopefully you'll find it useful to come back to as you revisit and look at the slides again. And what we're going to be talking about is some of the opportunities for you for your marketing and promotional plans, generally speaking, and particularly for 2021-2022. So first of all, I'm going to be looking at trade fairs and looking at home and away. Start thinking about the theme tune if you fancy. But as you've already heard from Neil and from Natig, there's actually tons of opportunities that you can get your message across. You can use a fair for all sorts of networking, for finding out information, and looking up and down your supply chain, essentially. So what have we got to start off with? Well, the main thing is, in a sense, is why look at trade fairs. In my opinion, and I've been working in industry and in marketing for a lot of years now, I find them very, very useful indeed. They're particularly good for networking, for reaching out to new people. As you'll have seen from, especially from the information that Natig's just given us, there's actually a pretty wide audience and the opportunity for an international audience as well. And as Neil mentioned, there's opportunities, there's things we can tap into as well in terms of grant funding and stuff like this. So great for products and service launches. If you've got something new to say, use the fair, put out a press release to coincide with your presence at the fair. It drives some traffic towards your stand. And your stand doesn't have to be huge. So here's 4 examples of some of the stands we've done in the last few years. On the top right hand corner, this is about our swankiest stand that we'll do. This was Railtex in 2019, and we had quite a large space, and we filled it with furniture that we bought from IKEA and Wayfair. So you don't even need to buy expensive, totally swanky furniture and stand kit. You can get away with basically breakfast bars and IKEA sofas if you want to. And we used this particular one at Railtex last time round to launch some of our new products. So we have a rail supply chain project, and we wanted to launch that. We wanted to push that out into the market, as well as inform and keep the awareness high about all the other things that people can come to us for. So that was relatively expensive, cost us a few £1,000s to do that fair. The three lower pictures are the kind of the cost, what I call really cost effective things. On the bottom left, you can see my colleague Rachel, and this exhibition is basically a tablecloth and a couple of pull-up banners. And I think we went to Marks and Sparks and bought some sweets to entice people to come and talk to us in return for chocolate. The lower middle is a shell scheme, so the kind of thing that Natig's just been talking about. Really simple. You come along and you pop your banners and your leaflets, and it's somewhere people can come and see you. And the bottom right is last year's, I think it was, or the last time round at Middle East Rail. And this is where the Britain is Great. This is where the information that Neil was just giving us about the TAP, the Trade Access Programme grants and things. So Middle East Rail upfront cost for us was around about £5,000. We got 1,500 back. So actually, bearing in mind, or putting aside the cost of actually getting there, which is absorbed anyway, it's a cost you're going to have anyhow. Actually presenting and being around at that fair cost us around about £3,000 or so. It's just slightly more than a full page advert in a trade magazine. So just to put it into context. And of course, you don't have to exhibit. You can actually just go to a trade fair as a visitor and just go and make connections up and down your supply chain. The tip is really just don't be too annoying. Don't try and sell too much when you're going to there, because it can annoy the people who have actually paid to go there. So looking at the home fairs, right, here's a big long list. This is why I'm really glad we're being recorded. This is a big long list of typical fairs that take place each year or every other year or so at home in the UK. Some are longer. So Railtex, Infrail, Rail Live, for instance, tend to be 2 or 3 days long. Some are just 1 day, so RVE, RIN, and so on. And some of the Ukraine events that we'll see are a bit shorter, typically a day or so. Some of them you just literally come along to, you exhibit, and you wait and see who's coming. And some are kind of like sort of smart networking in a sense, where you can make an arrangement beforehand to meet so and so at 11 o'clock for a coffee, or come to our stand at 11:30, that sort of thing. So lots of opportunities there. And overseas, this is first of our pages in the sense of some of the ones. So you've got kind of nearby, you've got Intertrans and Traco that Neil mentioned. Traco is a great one. It's a growing fair. It's really worthwhile. It's good value again a really good value way of getting yourself known. And as Natig said, a lot of the MacBooks fairs are being combined this year. So again, for the cost of one fair, you actually get sort of like 3 or 4 for the price of one at the minute. A lot of these fairs are 2 to 3 days, so it does actually make the trip worthwhile as well. Click through. So how do I find out about what trade fairs I can go to? We in Rail Alliance, we refer back to the Railway Gazette. This is our favourite source of information. It's one version of the truth, and you can just click through and find out about all of these different events. Now, as we know, this year we're still in a pandemic, so an awful lot of these exhibitions have gone virtual. And as Natig said, we've got the MacBooks virtual fairs taking place this spring. So here's a few. It's a handful of them. Note the variety of topics and the fact that the trade fair community has actually stepped up to the plate. We can't meet in person at the minute, so it's a great opportunity. We can sit here. I'm sitting here in my study, and I haven't had to come up all the way to Glasgow for this event, but we can still take part and contribute. So it's pretty cool. Also, so a whole range of ways to get to get to see people. And here's some in person that are starting to be planned. So we can see that as we are looking at the rollout of the vaccine and hopefully a global sort of starting to reopen, we've got quite a few taking place across the US, in the East Asia. We've got Rail Tex and Rail in Birmingham. We've got a few others taking place in Europe and so on. So hopefully there's you could potentially spend the autumn kind of zigzagging your way across the world and then regaining all the air miles you didn't get in 2020. But of course, the disadvantage of all of this, there's an awful lot taking place. So do your homework, check out where complementary providers might be going there. So your audience are going to go to event A, any one of these events, they can come and see you at the same one at the same time. So here's another. It's getting busy. It's busy autumn. So again, look at them, look at the variety, and look at the fact that there's quite a few events. Again, mostly 2, 3, 4 days or so, which again will make the trip across to Amsterdam or to Beijing or to Johannesburg or to Austria quite worthwhile. So, what to do? Next steps. Again, grateful for our recording here. We just wanted to put lots of information down so you can refer back to this. The thing is, our best advice would be go to Intertrans next September. Go for the first time as a visitor, wear a pair of very comfortable shoes. That's the top tip. It's a very large fair. This year, consider going to NATIG's Rail Tex Infrarail Fair, again in Birmingham. This is kind of a nice way to get sort of used to what the fairs look like, what kind of people are there, what kind of products and services are being shown. Intertrans is huge. If you want to get into rail, this is a really good way to make connections. Look at the numbers that any of our trade fairs publish, the visitor numbers, and you can see that all these visitors can't be wrong. And of course, as you go around, as Natig said, you can collect intelligence where your products and service can fit into the market, what kind of customers, what the supply chain's looking like that you're selling into, but also that you're buying from. So you can look at where your product services development could potentially take place. So I'm going to shut up now, and I shall hand over to Rob, who's going to go through the other favourite way of getting our messages across on trade press. So over to you, Rob.
Thank you, Jenny. Thank you. And just call up my, there we go. So you should be seeing what I'm seeing, I'm hopeful. So rail sector bodies, trade associations and media publications. So this is just a very brief sort of run through some sources of reference and information. Whoops, sorry about that. A bit trigger fingers a little bit cold, I think, in this office. So we're looking at trade bodies. We've already heard from RIA, they're the most established railway industry association, who are the most established trade body and trade association for the UK and actually, across the world. Bearing in mind that most of the railway systems, were invented, the invention of the railway system started in Britain. So Railway Industry Association has been going for 100 and umpty years, 175 or 184 years, something like that. And in a way, they're the sort of go-to trade association because they have the linkage with government, they have the linkage with the top tiers. Most of the membership of the railway sort of top tiers, about over 80–90% of the value, of the worth, if you like, the turnover of the railway in the UK, not just England, the UK, is captured within the membership of the Railway Industry Association. However, just as there are, when you go to buy anything in life, there are other opportunities across the piece. So if you are interested in training, then we would suggest you have a look at the ARTP, and you will by now see that we're using heap loads of acronyms, and so I'm going to try and not to say them, but wherever I do say them, they are written in full, I would hope. So there's an association almost for any part of the railway, would be fair to say. But some of them are regional, some of them are national. The Railway Industry Association, for example, is a national body, but with international reach. The Rail Alliance, who I work for, also similar, although we're a bit lower down in the food chain, and we're happy with that, because that for us is where we can make the most difference and the greatest contribution from the way that we run the Rail Alliance. Rail Forum Midlands is a regional body, as you can probably tell by the term. The Rail Freight Group is a national body and looks after freight. We often forget about freight. Freight prior to COVID was a sort of booming sector of railways. It had 10% growth at one point. And when you hear about sort of the growth rates in other industries, and indeed in the rail industry itself, to have 10% growth and it's still managing to grow year on year is quite impressive. So again, talking about niche areas, Rail Plant Association, if you're interested in on-track plant, or if you're interested in getting your products, goods and services into or onto vehicles that either go on the rails, as in on-track plant, or road rail vehicles that can do both, or simply plant that is fit for purpose for working trackside. And then Railway Industry Contractors Association, RECA. So there's all sorts there. I've highlighted an odd one. It's odd if you don't know about it, and why have I put it there? But that's the Gauge and Toolmakers Association. It's huge. They've got a huge membership, and that they are leading one of the great sort of reshoring activities. To be fair, Railway Industry Association are also looking at getting more of our goods and services and products manufactured in Great Britain. So have a look at the GTMA, the Gauge and Toolmakers Association, especially if you think that you can compete, if you like, in terms of reshoring, getting stuff that was previously offshored back into the UK. And then overseas, and again, we use one version of the truth, and for this list, it's a different publication, but the Railway News media package, if you click on this link when you get it, you'll see all these and more. I've just taken a snapshot of the European and international agencies there. A particularly nice one is the European Rail Clusters Initiative, and that's something that Britain is a member of. And so Brexit or no Brexit, doesn't matter what your politics are, we still got to trade with our European neighbours. And that cluster initiative is a group of railway business clusters across Europe, some 15 or 16 clusters, each one similar to the Railway Industry Association or the Rail Alliance, and they go from Portugal to Turkey, from Scandinavia down to Serbia, and so on. So that's something that we're very keen to make use of to help wherever possible. Now then, there's a whole heap of other bodies that you could be part of, and again, this is a bit like alphabet soup. So there's the National Skills Academy for Rail. So if you're looking at getting your workforce trained, or there is a training requirement, go see their website, see what they can do. If regulation is your thing, then Office of Rail and Road, they've been combined for some time now. And tragically, rail accidents do happen. And if you look at the RAIB, the Rail Accident Investigation Board, you will see that accidents are still happening. Signals are still being passed at red. Runaways are still happening. Derailments are still happening. In fact, I believe if you look at their website today, you'll see over the last 2 or 3 months, there's been half a dozen or so runaways and derailments. Why was that of interest? Not from the macabre sense, but it is of interest if your products, goods or service could help stop any or all of that happening. Then there's the Rail Delivery Group, and touched on by Neil, from my colleague from RIA, the Rail Supply Group. The Rail Supply Group and the Rail Delivery Group are there really to make sure that the industry performs at its best in all that it does. So one of the quick questions that I'm often asked is, can I join the Rail Supply Group? No, you can't. It's a closed body. But the important thing is the Rail Supply Group has a representation from big companies, small companies. Scottish Enterprise are represented on it. The Welsh Government's represented on it, and also other aspects of the railway: track, train, signalling, tier 1s, tier 2s, and SMEs. No less important is what do our customers think of how we do what we do. And so if your product, good or service is to enhance the experience, the customer experience, then maybe have a look at Transport Focus. Again, already mentioned by Rose, United Kingdom Rail Research Innovation Network, RIA, our colleagues in the Railway Trade Association world, they are founder members of this. We contribute to it as well because we're lodged with the University of Birmingham, which is the sort of lead university for this. So again, if you're looking at R&D or looking at innovation, then have a look at that portal or get in touch with Rose or Neil or myself or Jenny. Right, moving on. Now then, the trade press. These are generally free, so if you sign up, you'll get this popping through your door, or you more likely you'll be getting it getting visibility of it online. So yes, the Rail Engineer has paper, is a paper magazine, paper-based media, but also it's more usefully it's available online because you can search it and look for things and what have you. The Rail Engineer is particularly good for those with an engineering background. There's more than 20,000 copies go into Network Rail, I'm told, which is considering 37 people work at Network Rail, various locations, then it's a fair chance that somebody who's a procurer, a buyer, or a specifier is probably going to read something in Rail Engineer. I'm trying not to be too promising here, but by the same token, it is a good organ, as are the rest, to be fair. And really, it's for you to find out which one suits your marketing strategy best. Some they're just all very different. Rail Staff, for example, is a bit like I suppose it's a little bit like the Daily Mail of the railway, except most of the stuff in it is true. And it's showing it's more people focused, so it shows grip and grins, but also usefully it shows who's taken over, as a CEO, who's taken over as an MD on a route or a train operating company or something like that. So that might help you in your business intelligence. Rail News, again, is one of the oldest newspapers still in the rail media. And this is a paid-for press. So this is what I call the W.H. Smith's press. And so these, yes, you can you subscribe to, but it's going to cost you money. So there's a Global Railway Review, very good product, does what it says. The Institute of Civil Engineers, very good, and also IMechE, but obviously they're covering off the niche areas. The IMechE does have a railway division, and it has events. So if you are if it is your institution, then look out for it. Look for the railway division, and there are lectures, there are seminars, there are conferences, and all sorts. Modern Railways is again a good fact-based. When I say fact-based, I really mean sort of editorial-based as opposed to advertorial. So quite often on the trade press, you will see an article by Joe Bloggs, which tells you that this, this router for the railway system is the best router in the world. And then, strangely enough, on the facing page, there is an advert for that router. So there is a bit of that in the railway sector. That said, so there is in every sector. So New Civil Engineer, Rail Magazine, which is comes out every 2 weeks. But also, I would also say about the modern railways, there's a Fourth Friday Club. Now it's been hammered a bit recently because generally these are in-person events, but they've revitalized it, and it's online, and it's a good mixture of information and networking. When they come back to having them in being, then I would recommend it. That you a table, you go along. There's a small conference in the morning, and then there's a lunch followed by some socializing in the afternoon, and you'll learn an awful lot about the railway in a very short period of time. So other information sources, I'm running out of time, so I'm just going to sort of whiz through this. And this again is just a snapshot. So we're just looking for, what's happening in Network Rail. Compete for, if you do not know, you can sign up for free. And this is where you get the alerts for Crossrail, and you're saying, but they've built that. Yes, they've built it, but it's being commissioned, it's being opened, and then it will be operating, and then it will be needing to be maintained. So Compete for still has a role in that respect. It's also one way of finding all the contracts and awards for High Speed 2 as well. So again, looking through all the various usual suspects there, and again, Transport for Wales, Transport Scotland, and also surf the news pages from our UK-based OEM community, original equipment manufacturer. So these are Alstom doesn't build trains in the UK, but it is an OEM, and they're running out signalling systems and maintenance, mainly Pendolino fleet and what have you. So your next steps: consider researching which trade press publications may be most suitable to your business needs, and bear in mind, as you will know already, or your BDMs and your BDOs, your business development officers and managers will know that any publication that you sign up to will try and sell you space, and some are more patient, understanding, and some are quite aggressive, but that's the same in any sector. Find out what the forward features list is if you can, and then it'll show you when the best sort of bang for your buck might be in putting an insert into a particular publication. And really, that's it from me. And thank you so much to Shona. Thank you so much to Paul Sheeran and colleagues from Scottish Engineering for allowing us to be part of this. And most particularly, thank you to all our colleagues who've turned up on the day as well. So I'll hand you back to Shona now.
Thanks very much, Rob. Just sorry we're running a wee bit late. Thank you very much for staying with us. I think because we've run out of time, we'll need to pass on the questions, but we do promise to get back to you with answers after the event. So huge thank you to everybody who's attended, and to the great speakers today: Gillian, Neil, Rose, Natig, Jenny and Robert. Thanks so much. Your presentations were packed full of useful information. Just in case you're wondering how you remember it all, remember we've made a recording, so we'll issue you a link for that shortly after the event. And just a special thanks to Rob and the team at BCRRE and Rail Alliance for their support in this series of Get Into Rail events. We'll be announcing our second Get Into Rail event shortly, so keep an eye out for details. Thanks again for joining, and have a great rest of today, Thursday. Thank you very much. Bye.
Thank you all. Thank you. Bye-bye. Keep safe, everyone.
Thanks.